Today I am talking with you about the infradian rhythm, what it is, and why it might be important for you and your healthy lifestyle for long term. So before I get started, just a disclaimer, I am not a medical professional, so anything that you choose to do, always consult with a doctor or your physician. Make sure that's what is also going to be healthy for you and what other health circumstances you are going through. So the past few years, I've focused a lot of time with women's health, specifically for period health. If you guys don't know my backstory, I can tell a little bit about it now, but I also have talked about it in some other YouTube videos. I've suffered from period issues and irregularities basically my whole life as a menstruating woman. I got my first menses at age 13, and ever since then I've had inconsistent periods, sometimes super light for lasting 3 to 5 days, sometimes super heavy lasting 10 to 12 days. I went for a span of time, I didn't have a period for over 2.5 years. And even now, I still will sometimes skip a month or two and have like a heavier period, really bad cramping. Some of them I feel nothing at all. So it's really hit or miss for me. And it got me really interested in why this might be the case and how I can kind of regulate my periods naturally. I have never been on hormonal birth control, and I'm very thankful for that because of some of the research and studies that I've read and are also coming out now about some potential side effects and long-term health implications from being on a synthetic estrogen and progesterone drug. But nonetheless, I knew that there had to be some other solutions to creating more regularity and being able to manage my PMS symptoms as well as my long-term health as a woman. And I was listening to a podcast one day and heard from Dr. Alyssa Vitti, who is the CEO of Flow Living. And she was talking about this thing called the infradian rhythm, which I had never heard of before. Well, as she started talking more and more, it actually clicked with me that this infradian rhythm that's not talked about, it needs to be talked about more, which is why I'm creating this video for y'all today to talk about it, how it can relate to training, nutrition, the way that you take care of your body on a day-to-day basis, how you manage stress, etc. So essentially everyone knows what the circadian rhythm is. That is our biological clock, 24 hours in a day. When we wake up is the start of our circadian rhythm. When we go to bed is technically the end of it. And the cycle is managed by our hormones. Two of the most common would be your serotonin levels, which are going to help you stay awake, feel good, energized, and melatonin, which is going to help you go to sleep. So when we are thinking about our circadian cycle, everybody does that within every single day of our lives. But us women, as I was talking about in the beginning, we have a menstrual cycle, which can last on average 28 days. Some women it's shorter, 24 days or so, up to 35, 40 days. Every body is different. So just in this situation, we're going to be referencing a normal 28-day, 4-week cycle. So during this time, a woman will start her cycle. Day 1 is the first day of her bleed. And this is your menstrual phase, menstruation. Lasts anywhere from 5 to 7 days for most women on average. During that time, that's when your body is shedding the lining of the uterus, removing the corpus luteum that would have been fertilized if during ovulation the sperm and egg would have met, but since it did not, is being expelled from the body naturally. So during this time, actually our hormones at the very beginning have dropped very low. Progesterone's being expelled because the corpus luteum is being expelled. Estrogen's really low as well until about day 3 or 4 of your period, and that's when they start to increase again. So as we're going through menstrual cycle, we start into our follicular phase, which is going to be the creation of a new egg, and it's going to be coming from the ovary to come down into the cervix to hopefully be fertilized at ovulation. So week 1 is our menstrual cycle. Week 2 we have the follicular phase, and then about day, depending on the person, day 12 to 15, 16, somewhere in there, about halfway through is when you're going to hit your ovulation phase. And then from ovulation phase, we're going into that luteal phase and then back to menstruation. So it goes all the way around the 4 weeks. That is the infradian cycle. So any premenopausal female, so anyone who gets a period, experiences this. Men don't have to worry about it. Women who have gone through menopause don't have to worry about it. Children don't have to worry about it as long as they haven't had their cycle. So those people, congrats. You can just focus on your circadian rhythm. But for the rest of us, for about 30 years of our lives, 40 years, we need to take care of what's called the infradian rhythm. So how does that work? Well, essentially, as I was talking about, during those 4 different weeks, when our hormones are changing and fluctuating, that is going to affect not only our mood and our energy, but it could affect our hunger and our metabolism. It can also affect our muscle building, fat burning capabilities. These are super important for people like myself who are a bodybuilding athlete, but also someone like you who's just trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle. If you don't know what part of your cycle you're in, you don't know how it can affect your hormones, how it can affect the trickle-down effect of everything in your body, then we can't optimize your health to the best of our ability. So the more we learn about this infradian rhythm, I think the better off we are going to be during these reproductive years to make sure we're optimizing our health and setting ourselves up for not only more painless periods, but ones that are manageable, ones that we know this is why I'm so tired and don't want to be social, or this is why I'm enjoying eating a little bit of extra carbs. These types of things are super important. There was actually a study done in 1971 by McClintock at a university about how 135 women were living in the dorm together and that their cycles started to sync up based on their friendships. And through this, that's where the infradian rhythm conversation began, was if we are surrounded by certain people, is that going to affect our period? And so when we're looking at how women are impacted on a day-to-day basis, 47% of women have hormonal or autoimmune issues. And that's only going to continue to rise if we don't take the time to learn our hormones and learn our bodies and focus on what we can control, not necessarily what the medical, pharmaceutical, healthcare companies are telling us to do. Women are being left out of these medical, fitness, and educational researches until now. So even some of these studies about diets like keto, intermittent fasting, some of these fads like the carnivore diet, all these different options out there for women are being studied on men. So how are we really going to know what the long-term effects could be? We don't. Now, you're always going to have a gamble with that because it is 2021. We don't know what the next 5 to 10 years will look like in medical and fitness research, but something we do know is that the infradian rhythm is going to affect 6 of our key systems in our body. So that includes our brain, our metabolism, immune system, our microbiome or our gut, stress response, and our reproductive system, of course. And there is going to be some type of measurable differences week over week in all these areas like I was just talking about. So where do we start with that? Well, like I said, I typically start with the menstruation phase. That's our day 1 of our cycle. And so during that time, that's honestly when you're gonna have kind of a mediocre energy level, especially on day 1 and 2 if you're really crampy, you're feeling bloated or really fatigued. It's actually the time that's best to maybe do average workouts in the gym, doing some cardio. Cardio can actually improve cramping. If you feel strong enough to work out, doing a moderate to heavy weight workout, not high volume, can actually be beneficial for you in muscle gains. And there's another piece of it too when it comes to our brain. Usually this is when we're very high in our intuition, really good at reflection. So evaluating our steps forward in our life, maybe do some journaling during your period, being okay with taking some time off and relaxing and resting a little bit. So then we go into, like I said, that first week, which is the follicular phase. You're coming out of your period, you're gonna feel good, and actually it's good to eat a little bit lighter, and including some of our easier to digest carbohydrates that are complex carbs. but you can work out more intensely, like I said. So some gains in the gym, hitting some PRs. You can add in some HIIT training if you want, but most of the time doing a heavier weight training is going to be best for you. You're also going to have more of that brain stimulation. Adding in healthy fats is going to be really good for that too. So use this time for a lot of that planning, getting ready for maybe, depending on what time your period hits, usually it's the end of the month or the first of the month, planning for that next month, planning for things that you're working on in your business or in life. And this is a really good time to optimize those fat stores and build lean muscle. Now, as we get into that ovulation phase, like I was saying, day 12 to 15 in there, your energy is actually gonna be really high. Your sex drive is gonna be super high because your body's like, it's time to make a baby. So during that, you actually might be really social. Good time to go hang out with friends, see some people you haven't seen in a while. As far as your workouts go, intensity is gonna be great for you. Even doing a group fitness class or an online group class would be great, using that to your advantage. As we phase from the ovulation into the luteal, if the egg was not fertilized, you're gonna have some progesterone, it's gonna be a little bit higher and start to taper off. You're actually gonna need to eat more food. Our metabolism will speed up because it's trying to clean out the body, essentially. So you can eat approximately 230 calories extra in those 5 to 7 days leading up to your period. Most of the time, I recommend it to people to do dark chocolate, especially for the benefits of antioxidants and magnesium that helps with the cramping and PMS pains. But you're also going to start to taper down your workouts. This might be a good time to do a deload week and being able to do more meditation, restorative activities. And when it comes to kind of that mind-body effect, you're going to be kind of coming to a close on some of those big projects and plans and doing some reevaluation, maybe still acting and taking action like we were near the ovulatory phase, but you're going to be kind of trickling into more of that reflection, writing, wrapping things up, and moving on to the next phase. And also, it's really good to note that adding in yoga anytime during your cycle, any time of the year, honestly is beneficial, but especially during the luteal phase right before your period can really help in de-stressing the body. Like I talked about, us women, we can handle stress, but the stress load that we take in, sometimes we don't really know the impact it has on us because we think we're Wonder Woman and we can rule the world and do all the things. And in reality, our brain is on overload, and that's trickling down to our hormones, to our gut, to our adrenal glands, our liver, all of our bodily functions. And you might start to see some of those acne breakouts, feeling more fatigued, feeling more just not yourself. So when we take into consideration the infradian rhythm, like I said, I believe that this is an area that has more research to be done. I'm excited to read Alyssa's book about it and to really hone in on each area for myself so that I can report back to you guys on what I've learned and how it might help. But ultimately, your body is bio-individual. What I do with my body doesn't always work for you, and that's okay. That's just the way life is, so you need to make the most of it and not be afraid to try new things, because when we get out of our comfort zones, it's usually when we see the most growth. And even though we as humans are very habitual, when we take time to do something out of the norm, to learn about it a different way, to try something in a different perspective, that's when I think we can make the most progress as a species. So put some questions below. Let me know what area you want me to focus on first, and looking forward to this series.